Well, there's certain forces in this world who want this to become a great democracy and have been fighting hard to make sure. When was the last time you heard somebody in the news saying making the world safe for a republic? Or even mentioning the word republic. No, they're always saying democracy, democracy. They're sticking in your head your entire life that this is a democracy, which it isn't. But here we have a ruling by the Supreme Court now. So what happens is, and let me continue with it, after the electors that I just described present their ballots, certified ballots, sealed ballots, the President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all certificates and votes shall then be counted. No, that doesn't mean ABC News and Fox News giving you up-to-date, on-the-minute vote results, poll results from their local polling and declaring so-and-so won. No, it's not done by ABC News or CBS. They don't have a thing to do with it. It's the President of the Senate, and the President of the Senate and the House of Representatives shall open the certificates and the votes shall then be counted. Not live on the day of the election. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be president. If such number, that's the electors voting now, not you, the people. If such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no person have such majority, then from the persons having, this gets into where, okay, if it's a tie, we get into a different thing. I guess I don't even really, that does get rather wordy and kind of confusing. But in a nutshell, you look up the 12th Amendment, read it. You do not vote for president. The electors do. The states appoint electors to represent them in the presidential vote. Remember, this is a federal election. You can't vote for governor or for Secretary of State for Iowa or whatever. This is for president, a federal jurisdiction. The states have no jurisdiction in a federal election other than what the federal statutes allow them the jurisdiction for. You following me? So now there's certain states that have, many states have, passed laws, they call them laws, they're just statutes, passed laws that says you as elector must vote for who we, the people, tell you to vote for. Hence trying to turn it into a democracy. But the electors can go and vote for whoever they want. They call those, they call them faithless electors. And that's what I'm talking about when I say 99% of the people could have voted for Hillary, but we could have had Donald Trump, because the electors could look at the vote and say, no, these people are stupid. We need to put this person in. If you don't like that, maybe you need to move, because that's what our country is. We are a republic. Go somewhere else if you don't like the way it is, or change it. Now, the 12th Amendment, you aren't going to change except by another amendment to the Constitution. Now, what we had just a couple of days ago is a decision by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, in essence, that, ruling on Monday, upheld state laws requiring those chosen for the Electoral College to back the popular winner in their state's presidential race, a rebuke from the so-called faithless presidential electors in Washington and Colorado who sued after they were sanctioned for voting contrary to pledges they took before becoming electors. So the states in Washington and Colorado, and those aren't the only ones, apparently had, I'd have to look all this up, apparently had in their statutes that, okay, as you as an elector must vote for who we say you vote for, and the people are the ones who say what the outcome is and who you should vote for. But apparently in Washington and Colorado, they voted otherwise. They were what they call a faithless elector. But the U.S. Constitution says nothing about them having to vote for who the people say should vote for them. And now the states can pass all the laws they want, but hey, the state has no jurisdiction in a federal election. You can pass all the statutes you want. doesn't mean the elector has to do it. Right? Now, here's the thing. This is what the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 ruling, the court said that those sanctions, let me back up a little bit. Yeah, okay. Let me read the sentence before that I already read once. Supreme Court on Monday upheld state laws requiring those chosen for the Electoral College to back the popular winner in their state's presidential race, a rebuke for the so-called faithless presidential electors in Washington and Colorado who sued after they were sanctioned for voting contrary to pledges they took before becoming electors. In other words, the electors in Washington, Colorado voted contrary to the popular vote. They were sanctioned. That's it. And the Supreme Court ruled that those sanctions in Washington, in Washington it was a fine, and in Colorado it was somebody was removed and replaced as an elector. The Supreme Court ruled that those sanctions were constitutional. Now, I don't like that ruling, but that's what the Supreme Court said. That's the Supreme Court ruling. Now we have to live with it until it's changed. So the Supreme Court, but you notice the wording there. It's allowing sanctions. It still doesn't require the electors to vote for who the people say. Let me scroll down here because later on in this article, it does say that the Monday ruling does not completely bar the possibility that there could be a faithless elector in the future. The court ruled that states can require their electors to vote for the popular winner, not that they must. So nothing really has changed other than the fact that the states now might punish their electors if they don't follow what we, the people, who they think should be president. That's really what the wording is. If the news led you to believe otherwise, you were misled, or they misspoke. But all this is saying is it's going to allow the states to sanction, to punish electors who don't vote for Billary, when Billary was the pick for your state, or whatever, whoever. So anyway, I don't like that decision. That's something that, in my opinion, should have been ruled against by the Supreme Court, but this is what the Supreme Court ruled, and sometimes they seem to do the right thing, other times they don't, and this is one of the ones I don't think they did the right thing, but if you look at the specific wording, you'll see nothing really has changed. So we could still see the electors change the outcome of the election as announced on Tuesday night, all the way up until midnight, where they're arguing whether this state took that candidate or whatever. No, that was never valid to begin with. You honestly, truly don't even know who the president is until the sealed votes are counted. And I think that's January 12th, actually. That's when it was finally, the sealed votes are actually counted. I have to go look those numbers up and get the exact dates of all these things that happened. You won't know who president is until January 12th. I think it's January 12th. So no, the Electoral College is still in place. Hasn't really changed other than the fact that now the states that pass these statutes, I'm purposely saying statutes here, can now sanction electors who don't jump on the Billary bandwagon or whoever. Okay, I've covered that. I can move on to something else, or if people call in, if you want to call in. I'm just a little, the Constitution is our law of the land, and when they try to change it, it upsets me a little bit. If we have no law of the land, then do we have a land? Do we have a country anymore? And things have been changing, and things are changing pretty drastically this year. There may be some there will be some Supreme Court decisions based on this coronavirus in the coming months and years, based on some of the things going on right now and the lawsuits being filed. Our country is changing. And our elected officials and appointed judges are allowing that to happen. At some point, you may no longer have your country. And if you get away with the Electoral College, I think that's one of those things. If you don't want democracy, okay, go to France or somewhere. There's a lot of places that have democracies. Our founding fathers were scared to death of this becoming democracy because everybody knew The democracies suffer a slow death of socialism. And if that's what you want, hey, go for it. There's lots of socialist countries you can go to. When I mentioned France, yeah, socialism reigns there. You like that? Go there. Don't try to change my country into your
Canada.
Go to Canada? Why is that? What's your opinion about Canada, Paula?
Did I hear you mention? Did I hear you make a statement about communism?
Well, I didn't say communism yet. I said socialism.
So, okay. Did I hear you make a comment about socialism?
Yes.
My comment is Canada.
Okay, well, Canada certainly has a lot of socialistic ideals. There's no question of that. You look at their healthcare system, for one. But at the same time, we are becoming more and more socialist, too. Every year we're living here, it becomes more and more socialist. Canada isn't an extreme case, I don't believe, but yeah, every country on the planet is going more and more socialist, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's the agenda.
Yeah, well, turning a worldwide socialist totalitarian form of government. That's really the agenda that I believe the caller is referring to. And yes, we see it happening day by day.
And as you're accustomed to doing, Craig, you're going to continue to tell the truth. So go ahead.
Well, I'm trying. Unfortunately, you know that word truth, that brings something to mind here. The word truth, unfortunately, has been bastardized so much that it's almost a dog whistle for a conspiracy theory. I mean, it really has been honestly, if you look at the names of websites, and if they have the word truth in the URL, you can almost bet it's a conspiracy theory website. So it's become, the word truth has become almost meaningless now to me. But yeah, I get your drift. I'm not arguing the point with you. But it's the word. I try not to use the word truth anymore because I like to use the word facts, evidence. In my research, I try to use those rather than truth because truth has become a word that is almost meaningless today, in my opinion. For the word that it was meant to be.
No. I agree with you 100%. But see, this is the problem. See, this is the rub. See, truth is the bottom line. Okay, all this other stuff is BS. All right, it's all been written long ago, Craig. Look around us, man. What a mess. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we're slowly heading that way. It's something that they haven't been able to do in an instant. For instance, like what's happening in Hong Kong right now, where they're trying to clamp down so hard that it's going to cause big gyrations. They haven't done that yet in this country. But what they're doing is slowly, the old frog analogy in a pot of boiling water. That's what they're doing. It's doing slowly, so we don't finally rise up and say, hey, wait a minute, you've crossed the line. And that's not what's happening. We're not seeing that.
Hey, Craig, can I ask? Let me ask you something. Hey, have you had the opportunity or any awareness of something that took place this past weekend on the 4th? I believe it was on the 4th, Stone Mountain, Georgia.
The 4th Stone in Georgia. You mean Stone Mountain?
I'm sorry. Say again.
Do you mean Stone Mountain? I didn't follow your question entirely.
Okay, Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yes,
Are you aware of any of the things that went down there this past weekend on July 4th? That would be last Saturday.
Well, that's interesting because my last show I talked about Stone Mountain at length, but that was before the 4th. Cue me in because no, I have not heard what happened.
Yeah. What's up is this is a next rung of the ladder being climbed. There's millions of dollars being invested in these black Muslims, okay? And what it is about, hard to say, anywhere from 200 to 400 of them assembled Stone Mountain, Georgia on Saturday, okay? The video production of this is like something that come out of Hollywood, okay? They're all in black. They're all armored up. Many of them are armored up. They got shotguns, they got carbines, they got long rifles, okay? They got a talking head there that ain't human, That man is not human. Okay, so there's these videos of all of this are out there, Craig. A couple of them have been posted on kind of the LTR Discord. Okay, and I've been seeing them through some of my other things that I look at. Okay, but what it is this is the next rung up the ladder. Okay, because what I've witnessed is, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen probably over, I'm going to say 10 or 12 different videos where this one head leader guy is involved, and then all of these other Hebrews. Okay, now what a Hebrew is a person who's black-skinned. Okay, these people here are Hebrews by birth, but they're not of Father's original people. They are not of the Hebrew Israelites. There is no distinction between them, okay, and Hebrews who are Muslim. These are Muslims that are a part of this particular organization here. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to look into these videos and their YouTube videos that are immaculate. And once again, with all of this, okay, they're putting it out there. The language that they're using, they're threatening. They got firearms. You just need to look at this. Over.
Were they calling for the destruction or closing of Stone Mountain?
Well, I can't really. The ideology behind Stone Mountain.
There were three groups there. One was one was supposedly just regular protesters protesting the Stone Mountain thing. You had a group that was there to destroy it, and then you had the black Muslims and the black Israelites who were marching together with weapons, stopping people on the street. If you were white, they were demanding reparations from you at gunpoint. Okay,
Ed, may I make a comment here?
You're going to say that there were no black Israelites there? I've seen the video, I've heard them make the comment, and I actually saw the same guy from the black Israelites in Washington, D.C. when we had that Native American come forward and claim that the kid jumped in front of his face. He's there. So, yeah, the black Israelites were there. Same character, identified.
I understand. I hear what you're saying to me. And I know what you're referring to, okay? Okay, so what I'm saying to you is a true Hebrew Israelite would not take part in anything like that. That is what I'm saying, Ed. Okay?
I'm telling you what they identify as, what people have acknowledged them to be.
I understand that. I understand that. Ed, but that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Oh, I agree with that, but except for the fact that this is a known leader from those circles, and we know people that have been involved with those circles.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something I shouldn't say communicating like this. We've been monitoring that individual for a very long time in those groups right there.
What's his name, then?
There's millions of dollars that have put...
Give me his name. If you know who I'm talking about, say his name.
Okay, Ed.
You don't. You're pulling stuff out of your arse. Excuse my language.
Ed, you better hope that you never look into my eyes, son. Okay? Because you crossed the line too many times.
I totally understand
I'm out.
I
am out.
That's enough. Well, thank you, caller, for coming. But yeah, I'm glad you're out because we don't need people threatening people. And then my show here is about over with anyway. Thanks for the call, though. I enjoy other people's opinions, and thanks for the information about Stone Mountain. I did not know about this. I mean, 2 weeks ago on the show, I talked about Stone Mountain for about a half an hour and monuments being destroyed and so on. And I basically said, wait till we see what they want to do with Stone Mountain. I had no clue there was a protest coming, so no, I wasn't predicting it, but it's just kind of obvious something was going to happen eventually. So yeah, I'm glad I'll have to start looking up some of that stuff. I'm not interested in the religious debate about Israelites and black Israel. I really am not interested in that personally. That's just me. This in my opinion, all these destructions of monuments and such is a racial thing gone run amok. That's my opinion of it, and destruction of history and so on. And I covered that for a whole hour on my last show. So I don't need to get into that anymore. But I'll look into what happened to Stone Mountain because I'm curious about it. I did go there a few years ago, and a few years ago I mentioned to everybody, hey, you might want to check this out because someday we're just going to be in grave jeopardy. It sounds like it maybe already is. I don't know. It's still not open as far as the last time I checked 2 weeks ago. Stone Mountain is still closed to the public as far as visiting the attractions at Stone Mountain. Anyway, you've been listening to Forbidden Knowledge. My name is Craig. I do the show once a week if I can get to a phone in time. And the website is forbiddenknowledge.info. I did just post another video on one of my YouTube channels, although that channel is a little harder to find because not many people subscribe to that one. Another Fukushima fear-mongering video, a debunking of a Fukushima fear-mongering video on my channel. It's linked from my other channel. If you go to Forbid TV, you can see it from there. Forbid TV spelled with 2 Ds and no space between Forbid and TV. Forbid TV is the main YouTube channel. The other channel is called, if you want to write out the whole thing and find it, it's called Dana Durnford and Kevin Blanche Debunked. And those are the 2 biggest Fukushima fearmongers out there. Anyway, I just posted a video here a couple hours ago on that particular site. I won't be posting it on my main site. You see, the second site that I have it's not just I run it, but it's not just my videos. It's 150 videos of a whole lot of other people, including me. About 1/4 of them are mine, I admit, but I'm trying to include videos for Fukushima debunking from other producers as well, because I'm not the only one that does this. I wanted to create a channel where people could go to find the information they need to show these clowns who are running. This guy, Dana Durnford, real quickly, he tested 350 ponds in Newfoundland, Canada, within 5 days. He determined there's no birds, there's no ducks, and no frogs. Boy, field biology run amok. Drive-through pond examination, field inspections. It's amazing. Thanks, everybody, listening. This is Craig from Forbidden Knowledge. So long.
all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Join Mark and Todd for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, we'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Evening Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Corky. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and east. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon and evening to all our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, 3 hours behind us, and of course the rest of CONUS, along with the outlying 2 states, the territories, and the clock, 8:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, warm and muggy here in Michigan. Where we are, the rain went right around us. In fact, now it's actually cleared up a little bit off to the south and to the east, which I think is rather fascinating. And we had downpours just, a couple miles away in pretty much every direction, but right here. So we're probably getting lens effect in some other way because they're murdering us or trying to. Anyway, it's Weapons Wednesday. It is the 8th of July. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Year of Conflict, Year of Betrayal / the Dance of Swords, and a bunch of stuff going on, needless to say, all over the country. They're going to send the National Guard down to the Atlanta area. Well, wait a minute, actually it's the regular military by the time they're done too. Because, the party's just been going on for weeks and weeks on end, and more people are dropping dead on a regular basis, 8-year-olds, but don't worry, there's a lot of other adults that are being killed too, and a lot of people that aren't going to be reported because they're not black, they're white people. White people will be killed, murdered, stuffed in places, chopped into pieces. And then finally, a month from now or a few weeks from now, some of you will hear the stories from some of the locals who will talk about what really happened and how much was, intentionally unreported because they didn't want to get all the white people upset about all the white people that were murdered by the black people who were going a little crazy in the head. And, of course, they still want you to send your kids to school coming up here, where they can be raped or murdered and, beat on, and they'll be told by their little commie teachers how they have to apologize for existing. And only an idiot, an incompetent, or a fool would send their children to the public school system this fall. Under no circumstances do you send any of your children to the public school system, nor do you cooperate with any of their BS in any of their closed-circuit classrooms. In fact, remember what's really cool about that? You could do all kinds of fun stuff for you. Okay, little Bobby, you're going over to homeschool here. Mom's going to take care of that. I'll take care of your teacher and the responses for their psychobabble records and, whatever other drivel they're going to generate. Remember, guys, you have the ability to operate the keyboard. So flowers, puppies, gardens, and don't forget maybe vegetables. Puppies, gardens, flowers, vegetables, puppies, gardens, flowers, vegetables. nothing but. And baffle them with BS, and whatever their agenda is, ignore it. Puppies, kitties, kittens, flowers and vegetables, and gardening. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Insert debris and nothing relevant. Warm fuzzies nonstop. Warm fuzzies. That's the key to this. Meanwhile, your child is saved from being mentally butchered by the leftists who are going to tell them all about the importance of the rioters and how unimportant your life and history is. You're in competition. It's time for you to treat this competition seriously. The next generation is, of course, in the crosshairs by the swine Yehudi trash, the Jewish mob, whose mission it is to destroy the base of America. That's right. We're the majority. And, of course, they would like to kill you all, especially the Jewish mob. They have lots of surrogate infantry that they use for that, including the Black Lives Matter crew, the latest kill all the white people garbage, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So we understand that. We appreciate where you're going. Don't be there where they're going. Time to leave. Time to walk away. What did he say in Road Warrior? Just walk away. Just leave. Just walk away. Well, we actually will, while we're still armed with the teeth. And in the process, teaching everybody about what's really wrong, what's going on here. So, let's see. It is Weapons Wednesday. A couple things I did want to touch on. I did find those bags, by the way, that I mentioned during the 2-hour block. Unfortunately, the price has gone into, well, I won't say the roof, but it's gone up quite a bit. So $29 a piece medical transit bag. They were down around $14.95, and a little less than $20 another site. Coleman's does have them restocked in another area, or again, proper subject name, but it's medical transit bag. And they're $29 and whatever, 50-some cents a piece, making them a little pricey now. But that is one of the bags that we have been packing up. If you take a look at its backpack size, about like a volume is about the equivalent to an Alice large internally. It's just a big rectangular bag stitched at the corners, squared out. Nice cover, seals up well, watertight, and you, of course, bag everything up inside, watertight too, so that you have layer upon layer upon layer of protection. But needless to say, those also were originally used as radio bags. In fact, we pilfered all the black ones that we used because they were originally radio transit bags, just to give you a heads up there. So, and that's at Colemans.com. A lot of other cool stuff there. Take the time, check it out, see what they have. They have sold out of a lot of items. Their Molly gear has kind of been stripped, but there's still stuff there. Go through their sales section. There's a couple of good deals over in their sale and clearance section if you take the time and you're patient, including 50 caliber cans for $8.95 still. For in other words, $9 a piece, which is not a bad price. The other thing they do have there, 15-foot extension tie-down straps. OD Green, U.S. military, 15-foot, 3 straps for $8.75. Not a bad deal, and if you got deuce and halves or trailers, this is the kind of cordage and strapping that you want to have on hand and in your kit. If you have a pickup truck, you're armoring up, this is the kind of strapping and cargo strap slash baggage tie-down that's kind of handy to have with the technology that we're applying. So just something to think about when you go through. They got a lot of other cables, lockdowns, different types of keepers, and even carabiners. So surplus, it's always fun to go through and see what they have left, in the pile, so to speak. USGI 10-foot ratchet strap 2-pack for $15.95. You recognize these from aviation also, not just from transport / truck. But take a look at the keeper system and the latch, slash hook system for connecting to whatever the lockdown stations are, our aircraft, trucks, APCs, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool stuff over at Coleman's. Just want to mention them because, no, they don't advertise with us, but they do have a lot of neat stuff that's useful, and so we take advantage of that. over the last couple of days, of course, it's interesting how many people didn't know anything about what happened at Stone Mountain with the Ubangus Knuckle-Dragus infantry battalion that showed up. And what's fascinating is, as I pointed out, nitpicking at, the idea, look at this guy didn't do this or doesn't know that. Well, overall, they showed up, and a lot of you don't. Most of them that are doing the nitpicking never show up for anything, never part of anything, but they're desperately trying to play down because, after all, you just need to ignore that. It's really stupid, or they don't know what they're doing. Well, they actually showed up for the game, half the battle, and guess what? That's something that is a plus point for them that you better remember, and they were right out there in everybody's face, too. So for anybody and everybody out there, if you get a chance, and by the way, there's a couple of different dozens of videos, if you're wondering about what Uncle Mark is talking about. Yeah, everybody's like, well, what are you talking about? Stone Mountain, Georgia, okay? First of all, if you go to YouTube, punch in militia, then go to, for a filter, go to This Week, and then scroll back through all of the different videos posted. Black militia marches on Confederate monuments, black militia on PA system taunting and baiting white militia, armed black militia marches on Confederate monument. I want you to watch these videos. Shut the sound off first. What's the first rule here? What have I said time and again? Look at the imagery and start to do a cattle count. Numbers, okay? Oh, by the way, a couple more here. A group of armed demonstrators enter Stone Mountain Park. There's too numerous. You can watch them, progressively watch them as you choose to. Armed black demonstrators challenge white supremacist militia in blah, blah, blah. News today. Go back through these and watch the different videos. And one of the reasons is, again, so you can get a better feel for what some people may have mentioned, but you didn't get a full image of, okay? Again, this was a battalion strength unit, depending on how you want to count, depending which image you use, because remember, there was apparently not a breakup, but a redistribution of manpower. So some of the earlier videos give you a full strength image. Yes, at least 300 were participant, but if you pay attention to some of the other images, example is, let's see, I think the armed black militia marches on Confederate monument. Let's ignore the noise in the background. There we go. And if you pay attention, certainly there's the video that everybody's seen, wooded area, 4-lane road, double yellow line in the middle, and they're all wearing black. Now, first of all, I don't have any respect for anybody wearing black in Georgia, okay? I don't care who you are, BLM, cops, whatever. Black in the summer or in a hot region is the dumbest color. That's what I will talk about, not the guns. Hey, everybody, whatever they showed up with, hey, at least they're all armed, all got guns. How about you? Still yapping about how we don't need to do that because they're going to be so awe-inspired by our paperwork, they're just going to throw their hands up in the air? Hey, at least all their people showed up with guns. And apparently, at least made the effort to arm up appropriately. Now, the problem is the black uniform. It's 98 degrees, it is high humidity, and it is one of the worst blasted colors you can choose. Also, not very tactile useful, okay? Just as a heads up there. So with that being the case, I'm going to remind you again that pick a pattern, pick a system, but by God, pick something, first of all, that makes sense for your environment as far as, weather conditions. You don't wear tropical clothing in a winter Michigan environment or northern Montana in the winter or in, the Dakotas, you know what I mean? That wind blowing through your body and, taking and sucking all the heat out. In reverse order, wearing really, really heavy and dark and layered clothing that's black is about as stinking dumb as you could be. I don't care if it's Black Lives Matter, Antifa, government cops, Fed cops, take your pick. They all look stupid. It's just, what it is that black uniform interior KGB crap. And that is the dumb part. Now, let's get past that. And everybody else will be doing, picking apart this gun, that gun, whatever. Well, you can do that. There are a few close-ups you can use for, being nitpicky. I can show you as many combat imagery you can go to from Afghanistan or Iraq, where you can see some really stupid things done by quote-unquote trained professionals. You don't think so? Go spend some time watching all the footage, especially when cameras are running, okay? Really dumb stuff is done. And everybody wants to throw a grenade because it looks cool, man. It looks cool. Well, and they probably did want to throw the grenade at some point, but always, if you pay attention, there's a lot of drama that normally isn't part of the, the set configuration for that trained professionals environment. Drama queen. Anyway, with regard to basic headgear, for instance, guys, as I've said a million times, you really want to impress the bad guys, whoever it is that's your enemy, go out in, uniform and as a team. Shoot, no shoot, friend, foe. That's one thing about the black uniform, friend, foe. If I see a black uniform, I don't care who it is. If it's a black uniform, it's an enemy combatant. Why do I know this? Feds that wear black uniforms want to confiscate guns, consider, wanting to be politically correct. They're globalists. They're your enemy. BLM, they're your enemy. Antifa, they're your enemy. The latest group of kill all the white people bunch you see here, they're your enemy. Not a problem. But you'll notice that all of the government types, be they Antifa, feds, cops that are whatever cop shop that's got lots of Fed money, or, that's right, Black Lives Matter, they all wear the same uniform. You're the enemy of both bunch. If you're a super patriot, those feds want to crucify you and murder you. They've stated uncategorically you are an enemy of the state if you are a super patriot. If you believe in the Constitution and Bill of Rights, you are an enemy of the federal government, an enemy of the state, an enemy of the alphabet soup agencies, of the private corporation registered in the Caribbean and overseas working for the British Isle, the Crown. We know this, okay? We've been living this. We've watched it step by step. And, of course, they show total courtesy. One of the things they keep trying to avoid, these guys were given police escort. Well, they're telling you all about how they hate the police, too, by the way. They hate the police because they don't want any restrictions. We don't like the police because we understand exactly what they intend to do with the illegitimate restrictions that are planned and have already been executed and how they operate. So, you see, it's kind of funny because the supposed other group, in reality, in reality, we know it's very different. Whenever they get in trouble, they call the police. Well, it's like with us, it's like, well, we know better. Difference between the two sides there. You gotta get their license plate. Let's call an ambulance. Call the police. You demanded the police be gone. See, we also understand that we want the police limited. They are supposed to be peace officers, okay? But that usually isn't the case. They take sides real quick because the globalist agenda for the Masonic and synagogue group is always the same. Kill all the white people, hate America, hate American patriots, and destroy the border and make a bigger police state. Because then you can, bust up the rest of the producers in the country and rape, kill, pillage, and burn. So there's no difference between the black kill all the white people group and the feds because of the way they operate. Okay, just that simple. Anyway. What else did we have here? Anyway, one more time. Go to YouTube if you want. You can punch in militia or you can punch in Stone Mountain Black Militia Protest or March or whatever. You'll get lots and lots and lots and lots of images. Most are just paired off the same, taking a chunk of this or a part of that. However, there are a number of overlapping pieces that are, again, done by separate individual cameras, so you can get a multi-image. And again, the one that's most interesting is the earlier image, which actually gives you a better scale with regard to the volume of personnel. And again, as they separated into not so much that much smaller detachments, but as some of the other elements broke off and actually did a number of different tasks while they were on the street. That's why you see different images and people go, well, the numbers don't seem to be quite as large in one picture as opposed to the other. That's true. I think I'm looking at one of the best, which is a deep shot, which probably gives me a better feel for what looks to be a little under probably 450 to 500 personnel. The number they keep playing down, even with the ones, especially the controlled leftist media that was, trying to do damage control and, how wonderful these creatures were, we're trying to keep the number about 300. And of course, we should be able to do a good cattle count and plug it in and make the imagery you've got work for you. Let's see, somebody else is going. Yeah, okay. Armed demonstration at Stone Mountain Park brings questions of permits in city. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, that's 11 live. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of real follow up on that one, don't you know? Yuck, 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 yuck. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Ha ha ha. Now, another thing with regard to uniforms, for instance, let's get into the gear. Certainly the weapons, pretty much ARs, a lot of pump shotguns, mix of calibers. Some people did note the different range of calibers. It's obvious by if you kind of pay attention to the magazine, some 7.62 by 39, some regular 5.56, and certainly some 22s, etc. Now remember, some of those are regular AR lowers with a 22 long rifle upper locked into place. Others are the 22 AR knockoffs done, 22 long rifle that are done by remember the German models that were coming in here, about 3 years ago? Notice they're all gone now, MIA. They've just disappeared. It's rather fascinating that the company did a whole bunch of MP44s, AR-15s, AKs, really good quality, and then they just vaporized. Again, the UN Small Arms Treaty was tied into that. So for everybody who doesn't know, take a look, a little bit of the background, and remember that there's always somebody trying to block. ATF is always out there, bat faggots, and other, interested non-governmental organizations. And they, in turn, of course, are doing whatever they can do to attack, whoever is in the arms industry. And that's why a lot of the stuff, some of your favorite stuff, disappears. Sometimes it's just because the stuff it's popular, but it doesn't hold. The company may have a number of issues. Usually it's also because of the problem with competition in imports, if it's an import situation. So just a little heads up there. And they try or go into a new area, and they just, timing is everything, and they fumble, and then the company stumbles and disappears. That can happen too. We're at the bottom of the hour, and so before we go any farther, Edward, the bottom of the hour, Traditional Weapons Wednesday, bottom of the hour break would be really great. And for everybody out there listening to Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, we'll be back.
Come ye hither, red coats, what mind your madness fills. In our valleys there is danger, and there's danger in our hills. Oh, hear ye not the singing of the bugle, wild and free? Well, soon you'll know the ringing of the rifle from the tree. Oh, the rifle, in our hands will prove no trifle. You may ride a goodly steed, you may know a stern master. You forward march with speed, but you'll learn to back much faster when you meet our mountain boys and their leader Johnny Stark. Lads who make but little noise and always hit the mark. Oh, the rifle, in our hands will prove no trifle. Graves at home, back across the briny water, and hither ye must come like bullocks to the slaughter. But if we the job must do, then the sooner 'tis begun. If flint and trigger hold the butt true, the quicker 'twill be done. Oh, the rifle, in our hands will prove no trifle. hold the rifle, hold the rifle. In our hands will prove no trifle.
And we are back. And for everybody out there, it is Weapons Wednesday. Your mind is your first best weapon. Take the time, if you haven't been up to speed on what happened over at Stone Mountain. Some people are going, wow, why didn't I hear about this? Well, we actually have mentioned it a few times on the air at least, but for those of you maybe new listeners, if you didn't see anything about this, go back through all those videos and pay attention and understand they didn't want you to see it. The government wanted it there. They wanted that to happen. They made it. They made sure it was allowed to happen, just like the riots, just like the attacks, just like the corona beer virus scam. I mean, Trump could end all of this garbage with the filth folder all back and forth, but you'll notice he's not getting rid of the FEMA martial law status that they established, which all of these governors are now grossly over-abusing. They don't want to back off on that, though, do they? Isn't that fascinating? I think it is. Whoa. That's fascinating. Oh, I see why. Oh, that's the mouthy phone. Somebody just sent me. Sorry, guys, we can't play that on the air. As a matter of fact, that's one of the armed black militia group, NFAC, marched on Georgia Stone Mountain. If you listen to it, you will realize very quickly why we can't play it on the air, even though it just had a little bit of in the background. I'm sorry to Julie. No, Julie, we can't do that. I mean, we could, but you can do it privately. We'll tell you where to go, how to find it, and you can go check it out and then go from there. As far as going to, we talked about JG sales pretty well again, guys. What they got is all they got, and mostly it's the upper end, very expensive stuff that's left. I told you that's where this was headed. Not a surprise. I mean, nothing that we should be panicked about, except that, well, if you are late in the game, you got a bit of a problem. I would point out that with the situation being what it is, you can go to Classic Firearms, you can go to CDNN Investments, Center Fire Systems. They are even warning everybody, of course, that it's going to take time. By the way, if you do call, I thought this was kind of fun. The good thing is I have one of the other numbers to get in, but try the direct number to get into Classic. And they said, you only have 88 minutes to wait for your call to be responded to. You are in order, blah, blah. And then it started the advertisement block, and you only have 86 minutes to wait. And it's like, well, I'm probably not going to wait 86 minutes. Click, goodbye. So, again, it depends on where you are. MaineMilitary.com, MaineMilitary.com, Maine Military, M-A-I-N-E. They are, of course, on our main page, left-hand side. They do have arms and ammunition, but limited. However, they do at least have stuff in stock. Talked to them yesterday, and a little late was trying to get information about certain materials that we need. And they plugged in and gave me a little rundown. So whatever they have, they have. There's no use in mentioning what was there yesterday. It's probably gone by now. As far as whatever you're interested or your needs are, look to see what they have. Go to MaineMilitary.com, MaineMilitary.com, Maine, M-A-I-N-E, MaineMilitary.com. One of the things that Classic has, unfortunately they're not coming down on the price. They did have them below $300, but right now it's a seller's market. Chinese SKS Type 56 rifles, original, they aren't $56 anymore. They're $350. But as rifles go, light rifles, there's 7.62 by 39 ammo, as I pointed out. Most everybody has some somewhere. Ball, concentrate on ball ammo first, ball ammo first, ball ammo first, and then whatever else they have after that, well, work with it. But why ball? Works every time, functions every time, flawlessly, repetitious ad nauseum. Brown Bear, for instance, at Classic Firearms, Brown Bear, you got Huggy Bear, you got Brown Bear, you got Gold Bear, Silver Bear, Gummy Bear. I always joke about that for a reason, because it's the Bear series, Brown Bear. 7.62 by 39, 196 grain FMJ subsonic, 20 rounds for $11.10, 55 cents a round, or 0.555 cents a round. There we go. Make sure I get that third point. They're doing that. Third point. Oh, God, it's with all of them, as a matter of fact. Now, one of the things I would also point out about the ammunition, yes, I know, it's mostly it's the top dollar ammunition that's left, guys. That's where you are. In the 7.62 by 54R, they do have some silver tip in the can. They've got some 7.62 by 54R. If you have any of those Nagants or any of those semi-automatic Russian 7.62 by 54R rifles. Otherwise, it's a mix, and in fact, most everybody has gotten a batch of Prevy Partisan in. I do not know how long that's going to last. I mean, come on, as soon as everybody finds out it's there, it's gone, okay? But go through, and if you're patient, you may find some of the unique or odds and ends loads that before you wouldn't have considered that are still usable, they're viable, but they're in an odd load. Probably the best example in shot shells is triple-aught buck. Everybody has looked at it and said, what the hell is triple-aught buck? Well, you got number 4 buck, yep, and then you got number 3 buck. Oh, and then there's double-aught buck, 2-aught buck. Well, number 3, where this comes from, if you pay attention, go look at your 410 loads. You'll notice, look at the size of the shot, of the pellet that they're using for the Arcane. 3-shot 410. You'll notice it's a triple-aught. And I think what it is they just had a whole pile of that. They only wanted to load so much 410, and usually it's Fiocchi, or Fiocchi, take your pick, or Facci, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Do I really care? No. I would if it was, somebody I liked. Fiocchi's okay. So, Fiocchi, Fiocchi. Anyway, they do have a number of different loads, and they have a tendency to run a bunch of the 410. They did. And because of this, you're seeing some of the triple-aught conventional 2 3/4 shells. It's a good load. I would throw that right in with my number 4 and my double-aught buck and spray it down range when the time comes and feel quite comfortable knowing that I probably hit somebody, especially if I aim. Aiming's good, even with a shotgun. And, put the bead right on their groin, pull the trigger, watch the kneecaps, the groin, and parts of the center of mass start to get tagged. Be a good thing. Another thing that I'm noticing, 2 calibers, again, that just are probably going to hang on a little bit longer. Not much, but a little bit longer, and it's because there's been a lot of it built, and there's still quite a few weapons that are out there. Number 1, 38 Super. I've noticed that all the companies, no matter which one I've gone to, have some 38 Super auto. In this case, Aguila Plus P. This is over at Classic Firearms, and it's only like $19.22 a box for a factory. This is Boxer Prime non-corrosive, heat annealed, Aguila, and which is Remington of Mexico. If you're not familiar with Aguila is Remington of Mexico. They took one of the old Remington production sites, sent it south, and it's been there ever since, quite some time. And of course, they've upgraded technology accordingly. Now, here's another example of one, and for those of you who are 12-gauge operators and love the 12-gauge. Now, this is an odd one, and it's not cheap, but HEVI shot, 61222, heavy shot, heavy steel, heavy, okay, get it, heavy, heavy steel, 12-gauge, 2 3/4, 1 1/8 ounce of number 2 shot. Ooh, that's a cool one, actually. It's an air defense shot for geese and fowl. That's why it's steel. Now, this is kind of fun because that bounces on the concrete and won't necessarily flatten out as much. It's steel. But again, number 2 shot is actually a pretty decent anti-personnel claymore. I will point out it's steel shot, and if you were using a different type of wad, it might be a little harmful to your gun. But because you're using a standard high-grade, high-shelf wad, it's really not going to affect your gun at any significant level. Shouldn't, unless they used a base cap, and I don't think they do. I think they use a cup. So what you're looking at there, do some research. You might be able to find it. I'm not going to pull to the particular shell. But this is number 2, and I love all of these larger pellets. Number 2 is a good one. Now, it's steel, so you're limited. Some things it'll penetrate, some things not so much. Might even bounce off a little bit, certainly off steel plate. But then again, most of the shot shells are going to get stopped on steel plate too, aren't they? But wherever there's not steel plate, if you didn't have any supplemental armor, like I've told you, well, guess what? That shot's getting through to something. So it might be kind of cool to have number 2 smacking into them at full velocity, right? There's also some number 5 Fiocchi shot. Now the heavy is $15.10 a box for 25 rounds. The Fiocchi number 5 shot, which, by the way, is in 3-inch Magnum, not 2 3/4, is $12.40. And again, that's a unique. Also, there's BB out there for duck. Whack, 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 whack. All these are more expensive. I'm not giving you any small quote price on something that's cheap. You're talking, these aren't $5 and $6 a box shot shells. This is a lot more expensive, okay? That's just the way it is with some of the stuff that you're going to be looking at out there. There are a number of other things to take into consideration, and the other one, like I said, in a very common rifle that's popping up out there, is 270. There's still a good amount. This is the same thing that happened the last time we had the ammunition shortage. There's a lot of 270 in a decent configuration. Not that any of them are indecent, but a good price, okay, under $20 a box and typically under $15 a box. So if you're looking for something where you maybe are trying to figure out what bolt action am I going to probably find everything I need in, 270 is out there. Okay, Remington, Flinchchester, Fiocchi, Privy Partisan, everybody's got a little bit of that 270 in the 270 chambering out there. So something to take into consideration. Is it all cheap? No, not all of it. There's, again, a lot of the stuff that's left over right now was already expensive before all this stuff started. It's the same thing that happens every time. Those most expensive stick around until last, and sometimes or eventually, if everything is not available, these will all be gone soon enough, okay? Probably the best example, there's a bunch of Rio, Rio/Rio ammunition, 666, 682, 744 a box, mix of different shot, number 7, 7.5, 8, 7.5, 8. Let's see what else we got here. 7.5, and again, both in 2 3/4. Looks like they also got some 3-inch. But there's a mix in Target. Again, it creeps up in price as you go down the scroll. Now, another thing about the heavy, the HEVI, heavy dash shot, there are a number of loads in 2 3/4 and in 3-inch, okay, and in the bigger 3.5-inch loads, if you've got one of those. Again, that's more into the air defense / long tube shotgun. We jokingly call it air defense. If you the goose and high-range goose and duck, the tubes are much longer. Kind of entertaining, fun because you can keep a nice tight group at greater range, which makes the shotgun a little more useful at just beyond what is considered normal shotgun range. Something to think about there. Now, as far as other ammunition goes, and this is something that I've heard over and over again, well, what about fill in the blank? Guys, you're going to have to go through the scroll and find what's left. Now, I will say this. There are 3 companies that still have a bunch of the Ethiopian 8mm Mauser surplus left. It's corrosive. It's basically, again, $75 for 300 rounds, and that is a consistent price from pretty much all of the companies that have it left in stock, plus or minus $10. Somebody's asking, is it serviceable? Well, everybody that I know that shot it so far has not had any misfires. They've not desensitized primers with age. That doesn't usually happen because these are mercuric primers. This is corrosive ammo. And one of the nice things, it may not be pretty when it comes time to clean it because it's going to, it won't be that dirty, but it will be a lot dirtier than most of what you've probably shot. The big thing is if you have an 8mm Mauser, or if you have an FN in 8mm, an FN 49, or if you have, for instance, a Hakim, if you're needing more ammunition to feed down it and you can't afford the Privy Partisan or can't find it, the Ethiopian 8mm will work just fine. In fact, I would point out that Ethiopia purchased a quantity of pretty much everybody's rifle at one time or another in 8mm, and when the Hakim rifle was the United Arab Republic's standard arm, okay, it was made by Egypt, but Syria embraced a lot of Hakims. Also, Lebanon ended up with a lot of Hakims as first-line rifles back when they came out. Ethiopia purchased a number of Hakims because they were built in 8mm Mauser. So I'd be willing to bet that this ammunition was already pretty well calculated out for, or the weapons were already figured out for the most common surplus 8mm World War II vintage, which they were. That's why they built the guns, because there was such an economical pile of stuff available after the war. It was the other caliber. I mean, after all, we won, they lost. There was tons of 8mm captured, virtually in the billions and billions of rounds. Plus all the tooling was out there available. That's why you see so many 8mm loads after the war following up on whatever was military spec. The last batch of surplus that's made relatively new is the Romanian. You'll see a lot of that with the 150-grain projectile. Steel case, Bradam primed, typically in the green, but not all of it. Some of it's in the gray. It depends on which batch you've got, what year it was made. And they did make it up until recently, as a matter of fact, because they had a lot of 8mm guns in reserve, even up until not too long ago. They didn't get rid of the ammo because they still had the guns. So there is a lot of 8mm in service. It's not a bad round at all. In fact, give me a K98 or give me one of those Hakims, and I will make it sing. I will teach you how to make a rifle do what it's supposed to do. And without any problem at all. Figure out where it's going to shoot, how it prints, and after that, then we go to town. Had plenty of shoulder time with the K98. Too many rounds, can't even be sure how many rounds I fired from that. Now, on handguns, we're almost to the top here. So he said, Mark, look, there's high powers like you were talking about. Yeah, and they're like $600 and $700 a piece. It's like, I love the Browning high power. Got a whole bunch of them cached away and buried with, 20 mags each, because I bought them back when they weren't that price. I mean, I have 5 high powers in each cache that I do have, and they have 20 magazines. We have the sealed tin Chinese 9mm and also some of the sealed tin Euro ammo with each pistol. And there are 5 pistols to a clutch in the high power caches that I have. And it's basically the pistol you see right there, although some have plastic grips, some have the wood grips. Now, when that gun was $100 and $135 and $150 gun, I had guys scouring the Midwest for them, and we'd buy every high power that they would bring in. I didn't care what it looked like. I didn't care if it looked like it was soaked in salt water. I bought it. Why? Well, it's not going to me. It's going to someone else who isn't going to have anything. But internally, typically what it is, they were either stored bad or, needless to say, or they were carried bad. And a lot of them were carried bad because for the longest time, the Browning High Power was the only staggered magazine capacity pistol out there where you had volume fire, guys. And militaries used it, of course, to a degree, which brought up the volume of spare parts and, needless to say, magazines, which made it affordable. Until the Smith & Wesson 59 came along, there wasn't anything else you could turn to in a gun you could actually buy over the counter that was a high-capacity magazine, and it had 15 rounds, okay? 13, 15, some with 14, depending on who made it. FN, typically with a 13-round mag, but then they made the extended mags, then they made the bulge-bottom mags, et cetera, et cetera. The Canadians did, too. I think the Chinese made a ton of them and even made some extended mags. Well, I know the Chinese did, forgive me, think. A bunch of those came in when the Chinese opened up communist China. You might recall all of the really clunky-dunky Browning high powers. There were Inglisses captured from either Korea during the Korean War or were Lend-Lease, picked up and handed over to the communists. They had the shoulder stock tangent sight, shoulder stock slot, tangent sights, the whole 9 yards. But those were under $100 a piece, $75 to $78, okay? These are $600, $700. Are they good guns? Absolutely. Will they keep you alive? Hell yes. If you inherit one, don't even think, well, unless you don't care about the gun. If Dad bought it because it was an investment, not because it was Dad's personal pistol or Grandpa's, you may be able to sell it for a lot more than $700, depending on what you got. But consider this: can you really replace any of these right now? Not so easily, okay? Yes, as a matter of fact, thank you. They a little farther down the scroll. Browning High Power 9mm pistol, original Belgian-made surplus police pistols by FN Herstal. Slab side, wooden mags look like walnut grips. It has a simplified slab side for, the side of the receiver and the slide itself. There's 3 variations on that, by the way, and you can see that if you look at the different pistols and pay attention to where the slide rests in proportion to the lower frame. That's easily picked out in some of these pictures. But there, again, the variations are not critical. Parts all interchange, okay? Other than that, again, I know there's people are like, where do I find cheap? Guys, you'll have to catch it as it comes through the door. If it sits there too long, it's out the door just as fast. And again, I could reference several dozens of different under $200 pistols, only several, like 3-4 months ago, 5 months ago, 10 months ago. Not the case now. Some I wouldn't spend that as much money on, like I said, as they're offering. Like they've got a $500, the Beretta 85 BB. I used to sell those, and that one's in 380 Auto over at Classic. I sold that gun. I was a Beretta distributor. I remember when it came out. It had the Beretta and the Browning counterpart. $500, hell, I mean, it's a nice pistol, and it is a staggered, well, no, in this case, correction, it's only an 8-shot straight inline. Whoa, that's not the one well, yeah, we did sell those too. But that one, for instance, for $500, I can almost get, I can get a used Glock, if I can find one right now, but I'd have to look. I might not be able to find a Glock, but I can find a brand new modern pistol in 9mm, 40 caliber, 45 ACP, and spend that kind of money. In fact, I could spend less. So that's one of the considerations. Now, the second thing about this isn't just the ammo, it's also magazines right now. So what you need to do is look at what it is that they have, go look at the magazines. Do they have them in stock? And then look at ammunition. Is there any available? See, that's the criteria. First of all, ammunition, obviously. But you also need spare mags. If you have one magazine, well, you got to do a lot of speed reloading, and that's not exactly the best way to fight a war. So spare mags, and more spare mags. Again, there's CDNN Sports for magazines is one of the best companies out there to go to. That's been their niche for decades. It's what they do is magazines. Now, even they're way down. Oh my God. Okay, here's something I'll point out. I have had so many of these, I've lost count. But this is an example of where Crazy Town goes. Inland ILM, we're almost to the top here. Inland ILM 200 M1 pistol. Okay, now Universal and Plainfield made copies of this, which is a shortened carbine pistol. Okay. What a lot of guys did is they took the standard either model, Universals. People go, Universal? Well, you know what? Even Universals go for a stupid price. But this gun right now, which used to be about a $200 gun over the counter, $1,200 right now, $1,199.99. No, I would not pay that for that gun. It's nice, it's cute. What a lot of guys did is they took the paratrooper stock and took that pistol, put it in the paratrooper stock, and it made for a really neat little short, obviously not legitimate rifle. So you don't want to do that. You leave it the way it is. If you have one, don't put it in a rifle stock yet. But later on, yeah, if you got a folder stock, that's what you put in it. When we go to war, all the rest of this drivel is irrelevant from that point forward. Okay, so all the garbage we've worried about. Right now, like I told you, don't do anything strange or exotic other than make sure you accumulate what you need and get as much of it as you can, as quickly as you can. There's been a lot of question about the Thompson contenders. There are piles of barrels for the Thompson Center contender over at gunpartscorp.com. Go to their clearance section, go to the very last 2 pages of the clearance. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, are they cheap? Those barrels are not cheap. They're all collector's items. Sarco used to have a whole pile of them. Sarco sold out, I think, of every barrel they had for the Thompson contender, but they bought a big chunk of the national inventory years ago. Gun Parts may have bought up the stuff from Sarco. It's possible, because I hadn't seen Gun Parts with as many as they've got now. And they're obviously long in the tooth on those because there aren't that many of the original Thompson contenders anybody wants to come off of. However, I would point out, for being a universal gun to have on the shelf with every caliber that exists, back in the day, guys, they made every rifle and pistol caliber for the Thompson contender that you can imagine. Everything, anything, every caliber for what is a single-shot pistol, basically like a single-shot shotgun short barrel. Also, barrel lengths varied, but they went out to 16 inches, 15 and a half, 15 inches. It varies, and you'll see that if you look over at Gun Parts Corp at the barrels that are available on the shelf there, okay? Is it your first choice for a personal hand cannon? No, but as a universal survival weapon to put in a retreat for long-term use, a lot of guys bought something like 100 different barrels, bought 3, 4, or 5 of the frames, and if they need a game-getting gun, whatever ammo they find out in their gattervating across the countryside, they have a barrel for it. So any ammunition that they could find, they could use for game-getting or anti-personnel use. That's why it was so popular. Put a scope on the roof of the thing and become a master of that gun, and it is a tech driver. So heads up, it's only a single shot. If the man knows what he's doing, that single shot's what's going to get you, and then he's going to move because he's not going to let your buddies follow up with any return fire. See how that works? Another thing, yes, the Tokarevs, but look at the price on the Tokarevs. They've gone up over $250, $290. Actually, I don't see any that are $250. They're good guns. They're beautiful guns. It's basically a Colt knockoff, as you know. It has all the features of the 1911 and the earlier Colts. The big thing is, I think the cheapest one, Yugoslavian M57 TT Tokarev pistol, 7.62 by 25. There is ball ammunition available for this right now, so that's available. You have to have the mags for the M57. Not all Tokarev mags work in all the other Tokarevs. However, most of the Tokarevs that I have cached away, I have 100 magazines for each. Why? Because I paid 35 cents a mag and 40 cents a mag and 25. Guys, the mags for these when the Chinese and the Eastern Bloc opened up, they were in the basement. Price-wise, they were giveaway. Those days are long gone. But if you were smart, like what we did, Makarov mags were 40 and 50 cents a piece. So all the Macs we bought for $69, we have 100 mags for each gun. Well, would I ever use that many? Well, if I ever have to, I can I? Yeah, that's right. If I ever need them, like somebody goes, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to keep shooting until the barrel melts down. And I'm going to grab an alligator and I'm going to fire another round. Oh, no, I don't have to muzzle load these things. They got a magazine. Pop, 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 pop. See how that works? Anyway, solutions, you're going to have to patiently go through the scroll, look to see what is available, and run with the puppies that are there. If you are going to be looking to try and match up with the weapons that are in your friend's inventory, you're going to have to do some bouncing around. There are very few places where it's one-stop shopping. It's just that simple. Anyway, whatever you choose, the only thing I would say again, try to find the airsoft counterpart. Start practicing with the airsoft because you can't get to the range all the time. Airsoft. I can get a Tokarev copy for a spring one that's all metal, plastic grips, looks just like the Tokarev I'm looking at here for $12.14. Reasonably accurate. It's single shot. You got to cock it each time. It's spring, but it's a good training aid. It has all the weight, has all the feel. If I'm going to teach you to use the Tokarev, you're not getting that Tokarev pistol that costs $200 put in your paws. I don't want any mistakes made with that, even though I do trust you. I'm going to trust you more with my airsoft training aid that feels just like that gun. You can handle it. You can point it. I can teach you how basically to proper marksman stance, proper defense stances under different conditions, and I don't have to worry. But you're working with the actual handgun pattern of the weapon that you are graduating to. See the advantage of that? Also, even though you can't get to the range, I can get to the basement, the garage, or the living room, set up a target, and I can repeat, especially if I have a good instructor, and I treat my training aids as training aids and not a toy. You see, that's the difference between somebody who's thinking and a child. We're at the top. We are not way past top, but we are 3 minutes into the next hour. It is time to leave here. For all of you out there, organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program in your area of operation. Logistics. More is better. Buy more ammunition and food. For communist governments, both are always weapons. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're in the march. We'll be back. Same time tomorrow. Meanwhile, Ed taking over or LTR coming up. God bless. Support us by donating at www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Bye-bye.
So